President for being the co-chair, and congratulate Her Excellency, our Minister of Water and Sanitation in South Africa, of being a member and also the G20 President on the water segment. At this stage, Your Excellencies, we need to talk money. The partners, they will have to come very quickly, 2 to 3 minutes each, and say, how do we mobilize this gap? I never studied economics, President, but I know numbers. That present value and the future value of the 30 billion rand per annum, it changes all the time. It might be a little bit higher now, but we've been having partners for quite some time working together. We'll start with the World Bank. The World Bank, my brother, Sarosh Kumar, who's our global director, he will come here just for a few minutes. And I'm told you have a further tea with Minister Majodina. She has another assignment. And you will also be supported immediately after the World Bank. The African Development Bank will come through. But before you leave, you'll also have just a tea break with the minister. She has a message for you. Let's take the World Bank. Saroj, you can come quickly just for a few minutes, and then followed by Chirwa, our acting director for Water and Sanitation Department in the African Development Bank. Where is my brother Saroj, who was here with us early? In the meantime, while we are looking for the World Bank, let's allow the African Development Bank, Mr. Chirwa, to have a wait or two in about 2 to 3 minutes. We have been our partner, but we need more investment. Pardon? No, the CESOS will be representing the FDP. After the African Development Bank, we will have our partners from the German Development Cooperation following through. Just also to have that message. Thank you very much.
His Excellency, Jay Chikwete, Honorable Minister.
Closer to the mic.
Yeah. Ma Jolina, can I say all protocols observed? I'm something of a technocrat, so it's really not my place to say much and to engage in the policy space. But I have this task to make this presentation, so I'll read it out in part so I do not misrepresent my superiors. Just to mention that Mr. Chira was our acting director until last week. He's since been appointed as substantive director for the department in the African Development Bank office. So I think I've been together with you the past day or two, and clearly we, as a bank, we stand in support of this AIP initiative. And in many respects, we'd like to see ourselves as part of the process and part of the development agenda. The basic idea is effectively financing water investments in light of the existing gap requires a multifaceted support, as you have proposed here. And it should incorporate innovative financing mechanisms, collaboration between sectors, domestic resource mobilization, and more importantly as well, community engagement. Diversifying funding sources and fostering partnerships will be very important. Stakeholders can enhance and scale the impact of water-related initiatives, ultimately realizing benefits associated with sustainable water resources development. So the idea of benefits really, we as a bank think is very important, and it really goes to some of the conversations we've heard today around the water for the environment, water for water resources development, water to other sectors. So that's very important, and I'll try and make a few comments around that towards the end. So currently the bank is providing on average $4 million per year for the continent. Clearly that's not enough. Moving forward, we aim to escalate these contributions to the water sector by increasing our financing commitments across practices in Africa. The strategy, of course, needs to be developed. So we've come to this year we'll come to the end of the current strategy, and we'll have to prepare another development agenda into the next. So it's an opportunity now to engage with RMCs on how we move forward with the next strategy for Africa. Also, there is a change in the presidency for Africa. So again, an opportunity for RMCs to engage with the presidency to raise the profile of water within the bank, and that could result in increased resources coming into finance Africa. So that would be very important during these times of change. With respect to the target, I think what has been represented in the triangle should be supported, and all partners should be involved, including the bank. The bank approaches have similar ideas around how to move forward, and some of these include, of course, public-private partnerships, community engagement, as mentioned before, deployment of guarantees as already proposed. So there should be space for the bank to create an enabling environment for the private sector to come in and get involved. Alongside this, opportunity should be taken to advance ideas that have a broader, more holistic look at water as it passes through the entire cycle. So there was a mention of water that was once there and now is no longer perennial, and that's drying. And so there's a whole cycle system that needs to be looked at, as opposed to water and sanitation services alone, but a rather broader look at the water resources cycle itself. And then to see whether returns from every activity that depends on water can come back to the water sector. So currently, the focus is on the municipal supplies, sanitation, and returns from municipal supplies and sanitation. But actually, it should be all sectors that draw from water should provide returns to the water sector for further development. That includes then energy and industry and environment and tourism. All these should begin to make contributions back into the water space for further developments. That will increase the financing to the sector. Lastly, the bank is of the view, without necessarily providing any prescription, that we need to be open to suggestions for the future discourse. And that's really within the context of water security, climate, and the broader development agenda for Africa. The question can be asked as to whether we can plan for, develop, and exploit resources beyond river basins, that's beyond the hydrological cycle. So that's beyond Orasacom, Zamcom, Okacom. Is it possible to exploit the resources together and to take the view that the beneficial uses of water can be accrued for all Africans from the resources of all Africa? So we heard earlier on some discussions around the Gwai Shangane and the use of that river system to feed the city of Bulawayo and such. But is it possible to relook at the 100-year project proposal that the city of Bulawayo has to extract water from the Zambezi? Is it possible for us to really look at the Grand Inga? The Grand Inga can actually supply water to the north and to the south, so that we can, the entire Africa can manage its entire energy portfolio using these 1 or 2 dams that can light up the entire Africa. And that would release all the other additional existing dams and resources to transfer water into South Africa, into Botswana. That would imply a mega project, but that would imply major cooperation between countries. So this is a thing we need to look at into the future, and perhaps the AIP, looking at its current construct, could actually provide a platform for that. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Let's just to manage time. At this stage, we'll go to the Green Climate Fund. Just to make high-level commitments in about 2 to 3 minutes, you can greet the Minister and the President, and to us say all protocol observed. Let's ask Joseph instead to just come quickly for Green Climate Fund. We have about 2 to 3 minutes, my brother. Thank you.
Excellencies, distinguished invited guests, I bring you warm greetings from the Green Climate Fund. My name is Joseph Inzifu, the Senior Climate Information Analyst and Specialist based within the Africa region of the Green Climate Fund. The Green Climate Fund is the largest fund dedicated to supporting developing countries to mitigate and adapt to climate variability and change. As we have heard, the challenges of addressing the water infrastructure elements is very significant. And if we put it in context, we know that a lot of funding needs to be raised. It's estimated that 30 billion needs to be invested annually to meet the 2030 SDG Target 6 on water and sanitation. And that 10 to 19 billion is invested every year, leaving a gap of about 11 to 12 billion dollars annually for us to meet the 2030 targets. GCF is committed in supporting countries to address this very important problem. And as a result of that, has worked with the Global Water Partnership, with DVSA, and partners within the region to put together a program that will help raise finance through a blended financing facility that will raise about $117 million and leverage additional finance. We've also invested significantly in Project Preparatory facility and then regional support in terms of readiness to both countries to be able to develop comprehensive projects and programs that will address the challenges that have been raised. Today, DCF has invested significantly globally. We have within our portfolio to date about 297 projects worth about $62.9 billion, of which $16.7 billion comes from DCF's own resources covering 133 countries. Of these, 8.09 billion is really targeted Africa, which is about 48% of the total investment, and leveraging $22.46 billion in co-financing to support or translate into 125 of the total projects in Africa. For the water sector, the investment is more than $882 million of GCF's own financing, leveraging about $1.8 billion of co-financing, which translates to over $2.7 billion. And so GCF is really committed in addressing the challenges of the AIP. To give you specific examples, we have invested in total about $1.5 billion as part of the South Africa Water Reuse Program to address the problem that South Africa is facing. We've also invested in transboundary river basin projects, helping to address some of the critical issues that have been discussed here. So if you take the Niger Basin, together with African Development Bank, we've invested $210 million into the PEDAC program, which is supporting 9 countries in the West African sub-region. We've also done localized investment. If you take the case of the Ati River catchment in Kenya, we've invested a $100 million program that goes to support the communities that access water through the Ati River Basin. So GCF remains committed as part of our mandate, committed to Africa LDCs and SIDS to address these challenges. Our GCF2 program, which will enable us to speed up and ramp up investments, and more importantly, our executive director, through his Vision 50 by 30, seeks to raise $50 billion by 2030 to enable us to support the vulnerable people globally, particularly Africa, where much of our investment will be done. So we are committed to supporting this very important program and use it as an example to really scale up investment globally to support water challenges. Thank you for your attention and look forward to working with you to
Thank you.
resource mobilization. Thank you.
Thank you very much from the Global Green Climate Fund. At this stage, we will ask Angelica from the German Development Corporation, not more than 3 minutes. Thank you. Then we'll be followed by Nidhi Nepal from the FCDO. Angelica, you can come, just have a minute or two.
Thanks a lot, and I don't need more than a minute or two. I'm representing the technical cooperation here, so I'm not talking about billions. However, we should not forget that we need also people who support all the institutions to spend the billions on the ground, and I think we are very well placed to do so. My name is Angelika Vasilka, I work for the GIZ, and we are implementing a program which is called Blue Africa. It's part of the Team Europe initiative on transboundary water management in Africa, which is financed by the European Union and several member states, amongst them the German Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development with more than 174 million euros. This is where the money comes from. Now what we do, we are working with the African Union Commission and AMCAO to develop now the post-2025 water vision. And we are right now supporting the regional consultations. And yesterday we heard that some of you have been part of them. And I think next week we have the one for the Southern Africa. And I'm fully supporting the view that we should, whatever we discuss here should be part of a post-2025 water vision, because a vision will be nothing if we don't put there the issue of financing and what needs to be done. We are also supporting AMCAO in getting the data on water, the qualitative and quantitative data to know where we actually stand. And also yesterday, this was one of the aspects, because how do we know how to go forward if we don't know which gaps we are having until now? And the last point, and why I'm here, is we are also supporting the investment in Africa's water agenda. And here we are teaming up with the EIP, with Alex, where we'll be signing MOU to support developing concrete investment programs in several countries to basically develop the pipeline of projects which should be then presented at events like the EIP Summit. So thanks a lot for your consideration, and bye.
Thank you very much from Angelica. They have been part of supporting our continent, even here at home. We always value the technical support that come from the German Development Corporation and the technical one. Let's come to Nidhi Nepal, Climate and Environmental Advisor, please.
I'm very short. So I will take you up on the opportunity to say thank you to our hosts and greetings to all of the honorable delegates, and assume that all protocol is observed. For those who I have not met, my name is Nidhi. I'm a climate and environment advisor with the UK Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, and I'm here representing Deputy Directors Chris Carter and Gerard Howe, who unfortunately were unable to join these meetings in person. We've talked about the critical role of water in the climate-nature development nexus. It's come up a number of times in our discussions during these consultations, and increasingly in broader conversations. And climate change impacts show up distinctly and severely through effects on our water. The global water cycle is breaking down, and indeed resulting in greater water and climate insecurity, more drought, more flooding, dirtier water. And as it impacts ecosystems and as it impacts people's health, this water instability is also leading to financial instability and impacting economies across the world. I won't get into details of the programs that we're working on. We can discuss those outside of this format. We can get into the details. But what I will say is last Thursday, His Majesty King Charles hosted a water reception with 7 water ministers and roundtables on youth, private sector and governance participation, bringing together key stakeholders to form a united view on how to fix the global water crisis. And this was very much in line with the Global Commission on the Economics of Water. So this remains a priority. In the interest of time, I won't go into detail on that, but in essence, and to the Minister's point about putting water on the agenda wherever possible, the participants there agreed collectively to utilize key moments over the year ahead to address water management, which of course underpins all aspects of development, across leadership, partnership, and technical perspectives alike. So we very much welcome these meetings, and in particular the leadership shown by South Africa as G20 president in bridging the gap between leadership momentum and tangible actions on the ground. Similarly, we're encouraged by the conversions of the AIP with AMCAL and the AU 2030 Vision for Water and the SWA led Heads of State initiative that, as we've heard from colleagues before, is resulting in a new Head of State level commitment to WASH. So whilst the international community is slowly but surely waking up to the global water crisis and its transboundary nature, and as we've discussed, the primary responsibility for water still rests with national government and the policy and regulatory reforms that they implement to improve conditions for long-term investment in stabilizing and managing the water cycle. And the UK is in the same boat here. Under-regulation of utilities has led to underinvestment in water infrastructure, and intense farming continues to consume most of fresh water and then to pollute what is left with devastating impacts on the health of both rivers and lakes and citizens. And this goes back to the Deputy Minister's comments yesterday about how we value water. Outside of social protection, of course, to fix these problems, water users must pay more for their water. Farming and industry must transition to produce food in a less damaging way. And accountability must be strengthened across the board. This requires strong leadership, something that we see in the AU-AIP, in AMCAL, and with the SWA Heads of States initiative. So we look forward to harnessing the momentum of that leadership, buy-in to join with partners and continue to collaborate on and action the practical mechanisms required to take concrete steps forward in this mission. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Development Bank of Southern Africa and Tatechweni Rampele, are you here? Just 2 minutes, and just commit that you can be counted in. Thank you very much. And you can tell President Kukwete how much are you making in a facility available as our chair on the southern part.
President Kukwete, let me also recognize you. Mema Jodina, greetings to you, and all protocol observed. So I'm just taking cue from what the chair said. So I think from our side, as the DBS, really we are honored to be part of this gathering, and I think for us it's very simple to say we have been part of the journey throughout, and Alex knows that we have been traversing a number of terrains, trying to see how we really can amplify the work that we do. But from our side, again, we are really confirming that Minister Water is life, and for us, it's a catalyst for inclusive and social transformation. So, as we always said, let's not leave anybody behind. We should really all be, rallying together to try and get a better life for our people. But as the grants and fiscal capacity constraints of many of the countries that we are really living in are shrinking, it is going to be important that we really have to deal with innovative ways of how we fund infrastructure, and especially in water. So the balance sheet issues is no longer particularly the only way to deal with, because as you look at our municipalities, as we see it, the balances are no longer balancing, it's just imbalances throughout. So as a result, you can't expect anything. We need to find some sort of innovative ways of how we deal with this thing. Much as we also emphasize the issue of private, public-private partnership, I think that's a given. We need to really amplify. And I was checking some statistics to say, if you look at how much to the GDP basically is attributed to government contribution to this, is very small. And I think from our side, I also just want to also put this thing present of the public partnership. And I think we're ignoring that particular element because we're much more emphasizing public-private partnership, and we're really leaving behind the public-public partnership, whereby the kind of public institutions collaborate together. And that becomes an insurance to those that the private sector, because part of the thing why maybe private sector is not coming to the party, they are seeing how we are not necessarily organized. And as a result, for me, it's important for us, for organs of state to collaborate to achieve a shared goal, and that primarily speaks to coordination. I don't think private sector is looking for anything further. They're just wanting to see a very coordinated cog that turns out the whole entire thing, and I think we'll see them really coming, much more into the picture. From the DPSA, just in a quick one, is just to say we remain committed, President, to really look at availing our funding instruments and also beginning to use our leverage on accreditations that we have. And I think GCF has spoken about this. We are accredited by GCF and also from Jeff's side. We have secured a number of facilities that we think it's important to really rally the water sector to look at this funding that we got of over $200 million that we can use for project preparation. Why don't we really be in a position to mainstream some of these things to really develop these projects further? And also from our side, from a SADC water perspective, is to say how do we then begin to amplify and develop more projects in the region that is beginning to really be in a position to look at us ensuring climate resilient infrastructure, and also not forgetting gender transformation. So we're therefore saying, as an organization, we submit our convening power to forge partnerships to build capacity, but also to share best practices, again, to unlock investment for water infrastructure. So on that note, Chair, let's continue collaborating and aggregate our strengths to reduce the funding gap and ensure access to water for all. Looking forward to the August summit. Thank you so much.
No, thank you very much, Comrade Chen. Before you go to the August summit, we should be with you next week. Next week we want money. And then also the issues of money, try to remoderating the risks. Normally the bankers say they are risk adverse. So that I like the idea of public partnership, very, very good. We have our partners here. The time is very bad. There are other commitments. We need to release our leaders. If we have the UNCDF just for a minute or two, and UNICEF and IWMI, just to say hi, you are here, we are on board, and then we move. Do we have UNCDF, the representative? Please, just in a minute or two, just to assure that indeed we are closing the gap and we shall be together all the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and President, Ministers, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Anders Berlin. I represent UNCDF. You may not have heard of us. We are a small agency, but an investment agency within the UN family. So we invest in different projects, water projects among them. And we invest where others are not. So we can take risks where others are not taking risks. We're not regulated. We don't aim to be regulated. So we don't have return requirements. So that makes us a good player in the structures where you need somebody to take risk. And we do that through different instruments. So we have concessional loans, we use guarantees, and we use quasi-equity. And we use that to mobilize private funding. And I think that's what we're looking for here. How do we get more funding into these projects? So that's where UNCDF want to play. We also have some external funds where we support SMEs and infrastructure. So we use external fund managers to sort of leverage the way that we get private funding into SDG positives. And one example of what we've done is, and that's a very good example in this context because it's in Tanzania. So in the city of Tanga, we helped the city of Tanga to issue a water bond that was then floated on the Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange. So that's the kind of things that we can do to promote this kind. So we're very happy to be here, and you can hear that our sort of mission fits well into the structure here, and I think we want to be helpful in many ways. I listened to the strategies yesterday, and I think it's in 3 ways that we can help. So one is to make the projects more bankable. So that's one way. I think we can help to unlock domestic finance. I think we can help to be innovative in financial structures and see that they can be replicated and scaled, because that's what we need. We are very happy to be here and want to work with all of you. Thank you.
President, we have a facility of high risk. He says that they don't mind the risks. We'll ask the UNICEF team just for a minute or 2, and then followed by the UNDP. Please, let's not go beyond 2 minutes. I'm leaving on a borrowed time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellencies, esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Farai Tunuma from UNICEF, and I carry greetings from our Executive Director, also part of the high-level panel. As UNICEF, we remain very strongly committed to Africa, and the ambitions of the Africa Investment Program are actually strongly aligned with our global water and sanitation strategy, as well as our Africa strategy, where we want to see a thriving African continent that has young, happy, thriving children who live and benefit from strengthened wash systems that deliver water and sanitation for all. So in our commitment, we put forward our WASH staff, over 700 globally, and half of them on the continent, and in almost every country on the continent, to support the work that we are doing. We know that there is declining ODA and pyramid, that 65% of what we are looking for actually sits as domestic finance. So ours is to commit to unlocking that through improved sector coordination, strengthening water and sanitation policy and strategy, enhancing the data that we are using for pipeline development and impactful delivery of the Africa Investment Program, really ensuring youth, women and girls are incorporated into all that we are delivering, and ensuring that through our work, climate finance really reaches the households and the communities at the local level where change is supposed to happen. So we remain committed to this process. We are very happy with the transformation in terms of leadership that we have seen through the Africa Investment Program. We continue to work with countries and governments on this, as well as other partners, so that we are able to deliver. We congratulate South Africa in the panel and really say you can count on UNICEF to work with you.
Thank you very much, my sister from UNICEF. UNDP.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, Your Excellencies. All protocols observed, and Mheshimiwa Shikamo, that's my former president from Tanzania. So I represent UNDP, the United Nations Development Program, and I will touch upon 3 areas to express our commitment and partnership in this endeavor. The first one is on our experience and our work in sustainable finance. And we have the Africa Sustainable Finance Hub that sits in Pretoria under UNDP South Africa. So that's an area where we have technical experts to work with Africa governments to put in place different innovative financing models and schemes, including the Integrated National Financing Frameworks, popularly known as INFFs. So these experiences are important to support this summit. The second one is our knowledge and technical capacity. Having worked in the water sector and supporting governments through different programs, most important one that I want to highlight here is the Integrated Water Resource Management programs, where we manage to not only support governments to manage the water resource, but also to bring in investments from different multilateral development banks, as well as public-private partnerships. So bringing this knowledge and expertise, we can already learn from the bankable projects that we implemented and use these as models for the Water Summit that we are all working towards. And lastly, I want to highlight our work with supporting the South Africa's G20 presidency. We are working with the South African government through the Ministry of Finance, the National Treasury, and the Department of International Relations in their finance track, as well as the Sherpa track, but also the different working groups. Now, in this work, the government of South Africa has clearly highlighted the need to review the international financing architecture by reviewing the cost of capital, the cost of lending, and the credit ratings that African governments are going through. And we are hoping that governments can reach a consensus in this area, because we also recognize that with the current operating environment, the financial architecture it's working very much against African governments, the ability to borrow, because governments are servicing debts, and that limits the ability to invest in their social services. It doesn't only affect water, it affects health, it affects education, and investing in human capital. So we are hoping through the G20 presidency, governments will be able to create an environment that when we manage to mobilize these resources, we can leverage and increase the capital so that we can invest in the right sector and get the required objectives. So we are committed, we are together, and thank you for having us here. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that input. The last input, I must apologize, Minister. There is a technical glitch around online by Dr. Mishra, the World Meteorological Organization, a very important one, but there are issues technologically there. We'll ask IWMI to come through. Oh, they are available now. If we can just, let me just take IWMI first, and then I'm through here. Then we'll take this one just for not more than 5 minutes, because while we are dealing with water issues, the terrain in which we are prosecuting the struggle of access to water is impacted largely what President Kikwete, you said, the imperatives around climate change. Let's allow Imi to come through quickly.
Thanks, Minister, and Your Excellency and the Minister, all protocol observed. My name is Henry Roman. I'm the regional representative for EMI for Southern Africa and the country representative for South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Zambia. And I greet you also from our DG, who unfortunately could not make it to this meeting. So just to say briefly, with time it's become quite clear that we need a whole systems approach if you're going to address the complexity of water security on the continent. Because water has no boundaries, so working with river basin organizations is also increasingly important in how we roll out the AIP as well, because many instances, especially in our region, we share water across the basins, across aquifers as well. So it's not just the surface water, but it's the groundwater as well. And IWMI has a research for development organization. We work on the research side, so where we could potentially come in is to work on the de-risking of projects to get them more bankable, to get the evidence that gets them there, so the financiers can see how to fund it. And as IWMI, we also stand ready with technical assistance as well as our ability to implement on the ground, because we work with governments to develop the projects, to find the finance, and then we come back and we work with local institutions on the ground to implement. And I thank you.
No, thank you very much. The last one before we close is issues of adaptation, dealing with the question of climate change. We have Dr. Mishra, the State of Global Water Resources from the World Meteorological Organization. Doc, you have not more than 5 minutes just to give the high level and the highlights of the key issues for this high level consultation that you want to share with the leadership. But at the very same time, we will have access to the presentation itself. You have the floor.
Can you confirm that you hear me?
We can hear you. Can the technical team please raise the volume?
Do you hear me?
You can have the floor. You can proceed. The President and our Honorable Minister, our host, they can hear you.
Do you hear me in the room? Can you please confirm?
You can proceed, ma'am, to do the presentation in 5 minutes. We can hear you.
You can hear me, right? Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for the floor. Good morning, everyone. All protocols observed. I am Sulagna Mishra, coordinator of the WMO State of the Global Water Resources Report based in Geneva. It is my pleasure to be here in the consultation on mobilizing commitments for ahead of the G20 presidency in South Africa. We know that the global water cycle is changing fast and has become very, very erratic. And therefore, for us to adapt to the new situation, for the world to develop mitigation plans and to make informed choices on investment, on policies, we need to have an overview of the status of the water resources on a regular basis and on an operational basis. And at the same time, we also need to know exactly how much we are going to have in the next weeks, in the next months, and in the next season, so that we are able to make our plans better. And this is exactly what WMO is doing through this WMO State of the Global Water Resources Report. On the slide here, I would like to show our commitment. So what we see here is the State of the Global Water Resources Report, which we give a quantitative assessment of how much water resources is available. And this is the most latest and the most comprehensive global water data that is available, and it's the most updated one. We have these standardized graphs for the entire globe. It is consistent and it is authoritative, and hence this can be used for policy making, for decision making, for investment decisions, and so on. The report is 3 years old now. We are working on the 4th version, and we are committed to continue this on an annual basis. And at the same time, we are committed to make sure that our member states are also capacitated to be able to make such calculations and also make better predictions of their water resources. Next slide, please. In the report, we cover the entire water cycle, as much as data that we can gather from traditional sources like the observation, like the in situ data, but at the same time we bring into account the remote sensing data, satellite information, the global modeling data. So whatever information is available out there, we take ensembles of them to create this report. And hence I said before, this is the most comprehensive and the most latest data on water resources that you will find. Next slide, please. Just a sneak peek of how the results look. This is an example of river flow in 2023. The report for 2024 is now under production. So this gives us an idea of how the basins looked in comparison to the normal. So was it too wet? Was it too dry? And when this becomes an operational system and we are able to make predictions as well with our member states, we will also be able to see how this is going to change in the next years and in the next months and over the next weeks. Next slide, please. Tomorrow we celebrate the first World Glacier Day, and we know all of us are being impacted by the melting of glaciers. They hold a lot of water resources, and as of now, we know that the last 6 years, 5 of them were the highest record-breaking years. So the world saw the maximum amount of water from the glaciers being lost, and this is dramatic. By the end of this century, if we are proceeding in this rate, we will have very, very little water left that is from the glaciers. And you can imagine how much impact this is going to bring to the downstream of the mountain range. Next slide, please. Therefore, we really advocate that these science-based, information-based products are driving our investment decisions, our policy decisions, because these are helping us in identifying where are the hotspots at the global scale, at local scale, and to inform policy and inform decision-making. This is really crucial. It's also helping us to make interannual comparison, to differentiate which are really the long-term impacts, where we should put in more money, where we should put in more resources to create better adaptation and better mitigation plans. And this should also, these kind of science-based products should also be guiding our intergovernmental decisions. So when it comes to the WMO commitment, we are committed to create these kind of products annually and also more operationally over monthly and so on. And at the same time, we would like to have the similar kind of commitment from the member states and stakeholders as well, so that they are invested in these kind of products. They use this as a basis for decision making, so that our decisions are solid and is based on science and on data. Thank you.
Let's convey our sincere gratitude to Dr. Mishra around the presentation. A very, very useful report that please find time, especially the policymakers, the planners, including the financiers, because that graph, especially how the world looks like, and during this time of growing population, the demand that is there, that His Excellency the President and Minister you spoke to, when the GDP grows of many countries, all these sectors, they will require water. The extreme heat and a lot of desertification that is happening, and how are we going to do a balancing act around management, because only one drop of water is available. And that drop of water, if someone wastes that particular drop, someone is looking for that particular drop in the world. Then the issues around the deteriorating quality of water is a global problem. Normally, many people, they do many things that they think that their secrets will never be known. But a drop of water has the capability that even if your secrets, you think that they will not be known, at one point that drop will flow and lands on someone's lips. When that drop of water lands on someone's lips, what we have done to that drop, those secrets will be revealed. It will be revealed. We have reached a stage where the Secretariat, led by my brother Alex, they will say what are the key summary issues that we've done, and then we'll call it a day for the first session, because there are other engagements that I will come and make an announcement when we give our principals a leave of absence. But let's allow the Secretariat, led by my brother, the Chief Executive Officer, but also our Executive Secretary for Global Water Partnership Organization, Alex and the team, just to do a high level to say what are the key pointers, then we call it a day.
Your Excellencies, Honorable Ministers, and distinguished guests and partners online, we are coming towards the first part of the close of this very engaging session. And just to recap where we started from, I think we started from a very high note. The crowds are gathering. The crowds are gathering. The rain is coming. The crowds are gathering. The rain is coming. The rain is coming. Did I do it correctly? Okay, let's do it again.
The clouds are gathering.
Help me, co-moderator. The clouds are gathering. The clouds are gathering. The thunder. The rain. The rain.
And then the thunder. And the thunder. We have got it.
I got it? You see, Honorable Minister, I'm a good student. Yeah, I think, thank you so much, everyone. I think, if anything, I'm just humbled on behalf of the Global Water Partnership and particularly the GWP Southern Africa Secretariat, with my colleague there, Andrew Takawira, who is now the Executive Secretary, for the tremendous work they have done in really preparing this event. It's not been very easy. So we were directed, Honorable Minister, by Your Excellence and our board, that we must do whatever it takes to support the government of South Africa and the African Union. And I think we are doing just that. So we thank you to the Secretariat for the work that has been done, and also to the department under your leadership. I think Madam Nchede has been really extraordinary with DG as well, Lindiwe, trying to do this weekly coordination. I haven't been able to attend all of them because of my new responsibilities, but you can see that they are really trying very hard. And as the Sherpa confirmed, I met the Sherpa the day before yesterday in Geneva, who was very clear about water in the G20 track from Saudi Arabia, where it started. And we saw his commitment that he would try and facilitate the process. So, Honorable Minister, thank you for all your engagements. We are working under your leadership. The partners are here, as you've seen the commitments from different organizations. The World Bank was here as well, actually. I understand you met them with this morning, and the director was here, but unfortunately left because of some other commitments. But the excitement is there. The commitment is there, and the global community is looking to South Africa as a leader in this process, working with the AU. So we're very excited by this responsibility, but also we know that we are very challenged, but we continue to follow under your leadership. This is not an easy process. So just to thank the main partners that have been here, those that have traveled, UAE, Senegal, the Minister, AMCO President, gave his vote of support, co-host of the UN 2026 conference. I think the ministers as well from Zimbabwe gave a very extraordinary detail in terms of how they are trying to work in terms of supplying rural water supply to, for not just the drinking, but also for businesses, as he called it. So too numerous to mention, but thank you so much. And finally, Your Excellence, President Kikwete, our champion. You've been a leader and an inspiration, and we continue to follow under your leadership. We are very grateful and honored that you've been here and actually stayed to listen to all the discussions. Mr. President, we salute you. On behalf of the minister here, just to say now a few logistical issues. I think we'll break for lunch, and then in the afternoon there's bilateral engagements with the following organizations and the government: World Bank, Africa Development Bank, DBSA, UK FCDO, German government through GIZ, Saudi Arabia, and UAE. So you are kindly invited after lunch to just walk back through here for a brief half-hour discussions with the Republic of South Africa. So on behalf of the Secretariat, the Global Water Partnership, thank you very much for the opportunity to support you.
Your Excellencies, as we have indicated, Minister and Your Excellency President, we hope we have steered the ship. There were some glitches that were there, just on a technological issues, but to thank the hard work that the Secretariat have done, including the good work that the technical teams, they were very hard at work. On behalf of the minister yesterday, I came to oversee the work. And those that are requested exactly at 2:30, there's that session. Comrade Chene, we need you to be there. There's that short discussion like Alex is requesting, so that we can do these other assignments. But on behalf of Her Excellency, our minister, our co-chair, we want to declare this high-level consultative meeting. Or is there an announcement?
Asking you to announce how the photo shooting is going to be done.
We'll do that. Let's adjourn the meeting first on behalf of our leaders and give ourselves a round of applause. Thank you very much. We'll ask our team just to indicate there's a photo group that they are requesting, and then immediately we'll have quick lunch. Then